What's up, guys? My name's Luke from Fisherman's Warehouse, and I'm joined today with Austin. He's our manager over at the Sacramento store. So we wanted to go over a little bit what you are to expect your first time bass fishing. I know it's a little bit intimidating when you see these guys rolling up to the launch ramp in their $80,000, $100,000 boats, and they got 30 different combos on the deck, and you might not have any idea what any of it's for. So today we're just going to kind of break down how to get started in it, maybe some of our favorite baits, and just probably some good areas to kind of target your first times fishing. So I don't know, you want to take it over and just kind of go over a few intro things?
So I know, like, when I first started, I didn't have a whole lot of money. I was mostly on foot, going around. This is kind of when Google Maps first started to come out or whatever. So I was able to go on my phone or the laptop or computer and really dissect some areas that were close to home, because I didn't have a whole lot of money to really get to a lot of places. So I just found a bunch of ponds, and I was able to fish in my I guess like a 10-mile radius, kind of close to home, and I was able to kind of learn how to bass fish that way instead of like hopping in a bass boat and running down the lake or whatnot. That's kind of how I got started into bass fishing. I don't know, you got anything to add to that, Luke?
Yeah, I got a little bit. I know you made a really great point when you were talking about the Google Earth stuff. So that's how I started bass fishing. I was hitting a bunch of ponds. I started fishing ponds before I could even drive. I was thankful enough where my parents would drive me to these ponds. They'd drop me off, let me fish for a couple hours. And that was really good way for me to learn, because the great thing about pond fish is if you find the right ponds, a lot of them don't get fished very much. So I would go there with, new baits that I haven't thrown yet, or just new techniques that I wanted to learn, and I'd start throwing those. And when you catch 20 or 30 fish out of one of those ponds, because every fish in that pond is just pretty dumb and they'll eat whatever's coming their way, you get confidence. And that's when you can take it out into your lake and really kind of, have the confidence to throw it for maybe a little bit longer than 10 minutes without putting it down if you don't get a bite. And then also, I know you kind of touched on the chatterbait a little bit. That's a great bait if you want to cover water. That thing's perfect. A square bill is another really good option for that. But of course, everybody always tells me, I throw a Senko way too much, but I do a little bit here and there, but there's a reason for it. I will tell everybody the same thing. It's the easiest bait to catch fish on. So if you have literally never picked up a fishing rod in your life and you want to get into bass fishing, I'd go with a Senko or a drop shot. Both of those are super easy techniques to learn. You could throw them on a spinning rod or a bait caster. And they're just super simple. Literally with the Senko, you cast it out, you let it sink, and then you twitch it up off the bottom a couple times. And pretty much same with the drop shot. You can just drag it across the bottom. You literally don't even have to twitch your rod. You could just drag your rod tip and you'll catch fish doing that. So those are two simple, really easy ways to catch them. And then as far as where to go, that Google Earth is probably your best friend if you don't know a lot of places to fish yet. Just look for ponds in neighborhoods or anything along those lines. And then just find accessible areas at the lake, or any of the lakes or rivers around you. You kind of want to find an area that's not going to be a super flat tapering bank if you're fishing from the bank, especially in, a lake like Folsom Lake where we got a little bit more depth and those fish hold out a little deeper. So kind of try to find those areas that's got a little steeper bank, allows those fish to kind of move up and down. Those will be some really great areas to target. And of course, we're going into spring, so these fish should start pushing shallow. So, fish the bank and, just go out, try, find out what works, find out what doesn't work. And then, it's always a good day of fishing. It beats a day at work, right? So,
Yep, definitely. So, most of our ponds and lakes and rivers, they have a lot of bluegill in it. And I think a chatterbait, a Senko is great. And keeping it really simple colors-wise, green pumpkin, watermelon, your watermelon red. And I mean, like I said, those just keep on those basic colors and you'll catch fish. Something about just the green pumpkin and the watermelon resembles like a bluegill that the bass can't handle. They love those colors. Especially in the springtime, that watermelon red's a great color for all our lakes or ponds. And there's our bait fish in our ponds and whatnot. And you got your, like I said, bluegill. You do have some crawdads. You might have crappie in there. And I believe bass will eat other bass as well. If you have a small enough bass, 3-4 pound bass will eat a 10-inch bass. Like maybe even smaller than that. But I think bassers, they're very aggressive, and just keeping it simple, like I said, with those colors, green pumpkin, watermelon reds, and then I think anything like if you're trying to imitate a crawdad, your reds, something like you can see this, how bright red this is. Usually though in the springtime, the water is dingy, it's dirty. You want something kind of loud. You can see, and what I mean by loud is just bright colors. Reds, your chartreuses. It depends on the water clarity. Like I said, if you have dingy water, you want to use brighter colors. If the water's clear, you want to use your more natural colors. So that's kind of anything to add to that.
No, I think you covered the bases pretty well on that. I guess the one thing you did forget was shad. A lot of our bodies of water around here do have shad. So, you could pick, I'm going to grab your swim bait over here, but a color like this, I'm guessing your first time fishing, you're probably not going to be going out hucking a bigger swim bait like this. But this general color is something that will work really well on pretty much every body of water in California. We've got shad in almost every single lake. They're not as popular, if you're going to be pond fishing maybe, but like we kind of touched on earlier, those pond fish are usually a little more prone to eat just about anything that comes in front of their face.
So I know when I first started getting into fishing, like I wanted to catch fish on big baits. And that's one thing about fishing some of these ponds and whatnot, is just getting bit and getting the confidence on some of these baits. I remember the first time with a Huddleston, I was going out. I didn't understand how to catch fish on it. I was missing bites. And so I went to some of these ponds near my house, and I just wanted to get bit. I just wanted to catch one on it. And I was throwing this thing, even though there's a Huddleston resembles a trout. There's no trout in a lot of our ponds unless they stock, like let's see, Mather, they stock trout. Rancho Seco, they stock trout. There's some of our Rancho Cordova, like there's a high school that in the back of the high school, there's a few ponds they stock trout. But a lot of our other ponds that I was fishing don't have trout, and I was throwing a trout style bait, and I remember getting my first bite on that bait and getting that fish on the bank, and I was super stoked about it because I've never caught a swim bait fish before, and then just a light bulb went off, on what I was actually missing. I can't tell you how many fish after I caught that one, and how many fish I realized I missed before that fish, and not knowing, how subtle some of these bites are. You think of a big bait like this, a big fish is gonna absolutely rip the rod out of your out of your hands, and it's just a simple little tick. It's like you hit a branch, you're reeling in the water, and it feels like you just hit something, hit a rock or hit a lay down or just something. And that's what the bite feels like. It's not really, don't get me wrong, there's some times where they rip the rod out of your rod hand, but it was very subtle, and just keeping it really simple on just winding it back and then getting the confidence with it. So just don't give up, just keep fishing and keeping it simple.
Yeah. So anyways, that's kind of a general oversight on how to catch bass around here, Northern California. You could pretty much take that stuff anywhere. I know we did touch on some bigger stuff like that big swim bait, but if that's what you're looking to do, then just go out and throw it. And I think that's kind of the main thing. Everything's just a testing game. So just go out, see what works for you, see what doesn't work, and then the next time you go out, you'll be better prepared. So anyways, come on down to Fisherman's Warehouse. If you guys got any more questions, we can help get you rigged out, get you set up with everything you need if it's your first time or your 100th time. So we got everything you need from trout gear all the way to tuna. So come on down, check us out, and we'll see you in the stores.